Well, hello. Today, I would like to say thank you for watching this live stream, and I have a very special guest. His name is Hunter from hunterworms.com, and he just reached 500 subscribers on his YouTube channel, so check him out. So, without further ado, let's bring up Hunter.
How we doing, AJ?
Hunter?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Doing very good.
Yeah. So tell me about yourself. You know, you just started YouTube, and I connected with you and got you on a live stream. So let's talk a little bit about why you started this YouTube channel.
I don't really have a good reason why. I think I started the YouTube probably like most other people want to start. It's like, cool, you think you're more interesting than you actually are, and you just want to put yourself out there, and you think you're going to have millions of people show up and watch you and spread your message. And that's probably in my head at first. I was like thinking that, and then it ends up reality kicks in, and I'm doing lives and 2 people are there watching, and that's actual reality for it. So YouTube is just kind of a place where I can really just talk shit. I mean, you can't talk, you can only write back to me, so I can just speak my mind and get my point across. And it seems so far it works for me. I don't think it's going to turn into any business or pushing it too hard, but mostly just lives. But yeah, there's no real good reason why. It's kind of just look at how I'm doing it, and hopefully other people will learn something from it.
I hear you. So from what I connect with a lot of people that do worm farming. You know, that's my go-to thing because, YouTube doesn't want us to really like talk about a lot of topics. So I niche down to basically try to talk about worms and gardening. So I see you have, bus bins behind you. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your worm business and how did you get that started?
So it really started, I've been doing worms for about 2 years now, but it started probably 3 years. I got sick and my stomach was messed up. I chased every avenue thinking it was this or that. Ended up being, long story short, a gut bacteria. Went on that whole trying to figure out how to get the bacteria fixed in my gut, and it kind of, the way you feed that is with good food. So we started growing a lot of food, and at that time the C word was happening. So we decided to go from a condo to a larger piece of property, and started growing even more food and just really focusing on quality food. And when you start getting into that, you're like, okay, well, I got to feed the food, or I got to feed the plants. You have to start doing these things along the way. And you look at what's out there as far as fertilizers and stuff. And I was just like, this can't be the only way to grow food in this. I'll call it traditional because it's the way it's been being done for so many years now. So we started growing food. I started seeing what was out there in order to help grow the food. And I came across it, and it was just like, it clicked. So it wasn't a business at first. Well, that's a lie. And anything I do in my life starts off at pretty much as, oh, that's cool. Oh, can I turn that into a little business? Not a big business, just something so it's worth doing on top of the other value that it gives me. So really, I was sick and I started growing food, and you need some way to feed that what you want, to feed the food. So, I mean, that's what started it. And then it became I got way more in depth with it.
Okay. Question now. Don't want to know where you got your worms from, because, we sometimes have to buy in bulk, from certain vendors and stuff. But
yeah.
Is there a certain amount of worms that you started with to get started? I mean,
yeah. So
starting number.
I ordered from Uncle Jim's. That's where I started.
Okay.
I ordered 250 worms. Got them. Everything was fine. I put them in a bin that with the bedding that I thought, I didn't even really do that much research on it. Honestly, the person that put me onto worms was my air conditioning guy. a kind of a hippie dude, very smart, understands even further than worms still, and he doesn't even do them. He said worms. So there's no real, like, I ordered 250 worms, just threw them in a bin with a bunch of nonsense that I had picked up very quickly, and then started doing some research. The 250, I'm like, this is going to take forever, and ordered 10, and then I ordered another 10,000 from gyms. They came in all dead, every one of them, which happens. That's not anyone's fault. I think the way some people ship them is not correct, but anyway, he very quickly shipped me out another 10,000 red wigglers, and they were pure. They were real. They're real worms. They're not a mix. I know some people have had that issue with him. Mine were not. And from there, that 10,000's turned into, I don't know, a lot. I always say 100,000, but now people are using millions. So I got to figure out. I'm gonna have to get a count on them.
Oh, I definitely hear you. So how many bins do you have behind you as of right now? Just a rough estimate. I know you have the levels and.
Yeah, so I have, I think it's 48 or 50 right now. And I have room. There's a few other things happening on the system. Like I'm hatching eggs, which makes, I lost 4 bins there. And then I'm about to do a bunch of probably 250 to 500 worm bins in these next couple days. And I have 10 more slots at the top level to put them up there. It just, you start getting high up, you just got to run this ladder. So if I don't, it's winter time. So I kind of consolidated them a little bit, pulled out some castings. But yeah, these are all medium cement mixing trays from either Lowe's or Home Depot. If you order 5 of them from Lowe's here, they deliver them for free. So you don't even need to go to Lowe's to get them. And they seem to be working very well. I've tried other ways, and I have a few other examples that do work also. But the bins, if you have the shelving, seem to work very well.
I hear you. So is there certain foods that you give them? Do you connect with like Starbucks or something like that for your foods, or how do you?
I wish. Like with the way I feed them is a little differently, I think, than a lot of the like the pro homeowner, the people that are like trying to do a little business, but it's not quite commercial, but you want to keep a consistency to them, you know? So I do add food scraps, but I produce a lot of like papayas on the property. I have 50 papaya trees filled with papayas right now, ripening daily. So that's probably one of the main pieces of fruit that they get is an organically grown papaya from the property, from what they've fed, and that's the fruit. I don't really bring in external food scraps right now. I sometimes get a little aggressive about this, and I shouldn't, because it doesn't need to have that around it. But it's like and I've said it before, there's different levels and different qualities of product, right? So if you're feeding, if you know that your manure is coming from a situation where they're probably using a bunch of different chemicals around it to grow the food for it, whatever, that would have a different effect than if you had a closed loop system that you did bring some outside, but they're certified organic, and you're just feeding into the system with organic amendments, right? So I'm being very specific about what I put into it, whether it's organic or not, as far as I can tell. Now, I mean, if something's being poisoned and they're lying, I can't do anything about it. But I'm very specific on, like, I'm using a bedding. I'm not using peat moss. I'm not using coconut coir. I'm using compost. And that compost is made on the property with my birds that are organic. And it's not just regular compost that's finished, that's heated up, and it's resaturated with their fecal matter. So there's that manure load plus the biology of the compost pile. So it's just the way I'm doing it is, it might not be the best way or the fastest way, because some of the stuff's a little bigger to chew on. But proof is in the pudding with what you're doing with it, right? I have huge gardens, tons of fruit trees, that are doing insane. They're doing very well, and that's kind of where I test my product, is on myself,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems to be working pretty well. So yeah, the worm. I'll let you go.
No. I was gonna say that's great. Keep on going. I'm listening.
So the worms for me right now, it's not. I think we're still caught up. Or some of the issues is like overfeeding and what you're feeding them and when you're feeding them. And once you figure out those aspects and get those locked in, because that's really one of the biggest issues you have. You'll overfeed, and then you'll have a burst of either fruit flies or other things getting in there and causing you to discomfort. Really, it's not that big of a deal. Fruit flies are just part of the situation. I'd prefer not to have them. But yeah, the feeding for me is different. Like I make a chow, and I have, instead of the fruits and vegetables right now, I do give them fruit time to time, but it's really high quality bedding and a very good clean chow, and it seems to be working.
So, with your name, your huntersworms.com, your business, did you have to get a patent through a lawyer, or how does that work? When it comes to business. Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how all that works. I'm pretty savvy. I put my website together. I did it through Shopify. I'm a sole proprietor. I'm not looking to right now, at least, to push it any further than that. And it's just an easy way to have access to me. And it's my first website for anything. I've never really made a website. And it's just access to the worms. It's not meant to be anything. Somebody wants to steal the name. I mean, it's whatever. I know the URL.
Yeah. So
I don't know how that works. Is that something I should be thinking about?
No, I'm still learning. Like, some people have a patent for, like, they do buy their name and stuff.
Like a trademark kind of deal?
Yeah, that trademark stuff. And but they say it's expensive when it comes to business. They say you pay around $5,000 plus for a name. I'm like,
yeah. And in other genres, like in the knife world and stuff like that, that's very important to have your patents if you're going to be releasing something. Here, it's like, again, I don't think anybody could just be like, oh, I'm Hunter's Worms now and I do worms, and people would believe it. You kind of, like, in this one, it's kind of like you have to understand it, or else everybody's going to call bullshit on it. Like, I can show you all my bins right now, and you can see that there's a consistency throughout all of them, and you can't make it up. Well, I mean, I guess you can. You could buy worms and just make it seem like you're doing a good job, but it's whatever.
Yeah, your website. Your website looks good for you to design it yourself. So, kudos to you on that, man.
Shopify, $40 a month, and literally you open the business. They give you a bank account. You can buy the URL right through it, and then it's a step-by-step set up a website that is $40 a month. That gives me discounts on shipping. I mean, I use the shipping aspect for my other businesses, so I'm easily clearing the $40 a month just on saving and shipping. So why not have a website out there promoting yourself? At this point, that's where the world's going, is Google My Business. And I guess the title is starting a worm business hard is kind of what you labeled this as, right?
Yeah.
It's actually probably one of the easiest businesses to start for me. I've had to start other businesses that takes thousands and thousands of dollars worth of infrastructure and machines and steel and end mills and drill bits that just break. This business to start is a 5-gallon bucket that everybody has, and some worms. And if you meet the right person, like I've offered on many of my lives, that I would give you some worms to get you started. The entrance is like zero. So starting the business, like most, is like some other businesses, is pretty easy. Actually turning it into a viable producing company, that's different.
Yep.
Completely
No, that's
different.
awesome. No, it's awesome to share that, man. Because but some people just think like it's real easy. I mean, some people think that it's going to be easy. You're going to make $50,000 within a year. You know what I mean? And their mindset's like, just because like the big people are making that much per month doesn't mean we're going to make that. Because some people think they're going to be successful right off the bat, and I don't think that's true because it's how much you invest your time and money and stuff to be successful that makes you become that successful business.
Yeah. And just doing, I see and hear a lot of people having like major issues with their worms. They're even some people that I sell worms to, and they come to my house to pick them up, and I show them exactly how I'm doing it and having zero problems. End up having problems. So I know it's happening. People are buying. Oh, I'm going to get into this business. I'm going to buy 100,000 worms or something like that, right? And thinking, yeah, it's easy. They're just bugs, whatever. And then you can start like I'm seeing a few people get smoked, and I'm like, okay, well, that hasn't happened to me. So I don't know. I don't know. This business has always been green for me for the most part because I haven't had to buy fertilizer for my property. So that's a big cost knocked out that if you're not factoring into you doing it is ridiculous. And then I haven't had a major problem like all 10,000 worms die and then having to start all over, or 100,000. So navigating and being smart about it, again, it's not very difficult. You just have to follow directions on this one, or else it'll end up costing you more than it needs to. Yeah. It really can be free.
And your worms are in like a storage shed or a barn or something? Is that where you keep them with a temperature controlled environment? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I have a 2,000 square foot steel building with 13-foot ceilings. I took about a third of it, and me and my business partner in Knives built out a whole shop that's drywalled, insulated with mini splits. It wasn't meant to be for the worms, but ended up, because of the way I do it, it's very easy to just keep them on one wall, and then I have the rest of the shop for another business. But we built out this whole. It's a real. You could live in here. If I pulled all of this out here, you could live in here. And yes, what I'm finding for the most part, worms do very well in the same conditions as humans. So would they do better at 78 degrees during the summer? I think they would. I think that's like a perfect number for them. So they're normally at like 74, but that range right there seems to be perfectly fine. And it works very well for me. When the spring comes and it starts to heat up, I'm going to see a bump in here for sure. They can tell that time of year, and it starts to warm up a little bit, and they know it.
So do you have? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Like the delay is kind of like making me step over you, so I apologize for that.
So so it's a huge room right now. The majority of it, 99% of it's for a completely different business and just my shop. But it's temperature controlled, and that's, I think, an aspect that a lot of people don't pick up on, is that some of the guys that are doing it the easiest are keeping it under control completely.
I hear you. So do you have a lot of sales? You live in Florida. Do you have a lot of like do local people purchase from you, or is it people from over your website that buy from you mostly?
I've sold not a lot through the website. Most of it is local. I think my best ad is the Facebook ad. Anybody, if you're even thinking about doing worms, put an ad up there, asking for them even, and start that. They do mess with you a little bit, but it seems like it's still visible. I get most of my business from Facebook right now. Is the local person stumbled across it and just want to get them quick. And when they come to me, I'm not just shipping you dry worms in a bag of peat moss. I want you to come here so I can literally show you exactly how to do it in person. You can feel the moisture in the container. You can see how many worms I'm putting in there. I can show you exactly how much feed. and basically build it for you. That's what I want.
Okay. That's awesome, man.
That's a good customer at that point. You've really put the effort into informing them, and sending them on their way with unlimited access to me. And you can contact me 24 hours a day about it, and I may not answer right then and there, but you'll get a call back or a text back. So
exactly. I know, like with you, we connected to your email, so people can always contact you through your email or your website to get in touch with you.
Yes.
So that's good.
I run my room at 79. Nice, Jess.
So
it would be awesome.
With all the competition out there, you know, people have the set prices for certain breeds of worm species and stuff. How did you decide what your final price is going to be? You know what I mean? For like 1,000 pounds, you know, 1,000 worms. How did you decide how much you were going to sell them for, per pound or half a pound, or you know what I mean?
That's pretty simple. You just look at the market. You look at some of the bigger people on the street, and like Mimi's was a good reference. I think her videos are very informative, and she seems like she's running a good outfit. And I just based it off of somebody like that. Like, she has more infrastructure and stuff like that, but the market's the market. It doesn't matter if I can do it cheaper than her but I have been finding that some people want to argue about prices instead of just saying, okay, I'll go find them somewhere else. Like comparing me to Uncle Jim's on Amazon selling 2,000. So it's, again, there's a different, although mine were originally from Jim's, mine are now they've evolved. They're being kept differently, and what they're being fed, it's different. So like if you want to jump into an organic worm, as far as I'm concerned, it's different than getting it from a commercial that could be feeding them anything that, to me, can cause problems that not everybody picks up on. So I looked at the competition, and now have had my website up for a while. I'm going to drop my price big time, because I don't need to charge that much. And honestly, I'd rather more people get the worms than make a ton of extra profit and not sell as many.
I hear you. So with your business, just your worms for now, do you do all the bagging and all that stuff when it comes to worms, or does your partner help you, or do you like sift the castings, everything's by yourself, or how does that work with your business?
My wife's she's a soldier. She's with me whenever.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm seeing. I'm looking down and seeing the delay. I'm sorry. My wife is on my team big time. She loves the worms too. I'm not at the point where I would need any help with this, really. I mean, she does help me sift time to time, like if we're going to do a big casting pullout. But I've been letting them ride for a while. I think that, to me right now, if I don't have castings that are, like, I have bins of them outside right now that are being kept in a nice place. Their moisture content, everything's perfect. But I like, at least for a couple extra months, leaving it in the bin. And I think it gets better over time. It's like fine wine. There's a guy named Clackamas Coot. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Look into him. Anybody that's watching, Clackamas Coot. He doesn't have a podcast. He's an old head. He probably used to grow weed, I think is where it started. But he's given me a bunch of secrets and stuff that he's picked up over time, which I think the marijuana industry is what drove castings to become where they are now. A lot of it was feeding that genre. But I don't know where I was going. But really, I don't need help with it at all. I mean, it would be nice to be able to pass it off to somebody and do something else. But I'm not at the point where I have too many sales at all. It's maybe 2,000 a week if I'm lucky right now. You know, I'm not paying for any ads or anything, so that's kind of where I'm at.
I understand. So you also do other jobs too. You homestead. You like do quail eggs and stuff like that. You raise chickens and quails, and you make knives. Is that what you say you do as well?
Yeah. So the worms are just like I think it's what I talk about a lot on the internet, but it's just that one little aspect of the bigger picture. And really, the worms are beautiful, and I think some people are into the worms for the worms, but it's really the product, and then taking the product and then utilizing it so it's actually helping you produce and fix the property. So we turn the castings in its granule form is not as it's better when you turn it to a tea. So we do use it in every aspect of the gardening situation, but I really like turning it to tea and getting a high quality tea going, and then spraying the whole property down, doing drenches. So we're really, and then we modify the tea to however we need it. If we want to help stuff flower, we can adjust it. We can do a bunch of different things along the way to adjust it. But really, most of the amendments that I add in after the fact, if I want to make the tea more potent in a certain area, are things that I add in my chow. So the chow is multiple ingredients, which then filter through the castings. But anything that's has not been dealt with by the worms is going to be in the tea also. So, and that leads back to the compost being a great base, is that you can make a compost tea without worms, and that's really good too. It's not as much biology, but yeah, pretty much.
No, that's good stuff, man. So I've sold worms to a couple people, if I had the time, I could get involved and go big scale, but I choose not to because I got so much to do. I do it because my job takes out of me. And for me, I don't want to own a business. I like doing YouTube. That's kind of like a business I would like, I like to do like that way, but I don't want all the responsibility. But
yeah,
if I was going to start a business, what is one thing that you think I should start doing before I even thought about starting a business?
Probably not listen to me about starting a business.
Okay.
That would be the best advice. Is honestly, if there are guys right now that are making what looks to be millions of dollars off worm castings, so there's a way to access big money in this. Maybe Arizona worm farming could be up there in a big business, and there's a few other guys that are killing it. And there's not just worms; there's other aspects of. But I would tell you not to listen to the guy that still hasn't quite figured it all out yet, and to go find somebody that. I don't think it really matters what business you run. Yeah. I run into a problem. I'm the best salesman about certain things, but like I'll end up giving it to you at the end of the day if you squeeze me hard enough. I'd rather see you succeed than make a huge profit, and it messes with me every day because you still have to pay bills and shit. But I mean, I end up donating my knives to good causes. I mean, I end up giving more shit away than I sell is really what it comes down to for any of my businesses. So I'm definitely not the person as far as generic information. But if you were to listen to me because you didn't have anybody else, I would say whatever you're going to do, like you kind of need to really understand it so you can have these conversations with people. Don't just half-ass anything because I may do a bunch of different things, but I'm pretty astute in each of them. We could roll right off this into another genre and start talking about getting plants started and how I build my soil. So it's not just one avenue.
So someone had a question about, Jessica said, I read in the paper years ago about Vermiwash, a tea made by rinsing off the worms. Any info? I have never heard of that. So if anyone in the chat knows or answer it, but I've never heard of that. I just heard the worm tea. Okay. Jessica, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe, you can ask Nana's Worms and Garden. She's like a professor in that aspect. She could answer that, but I don't have the answer to that one.
Yeah. I don't know when you washing them, I guess you would do it when you're about to ship them, maybe. When I ship my worms, I don't do it exactly the same way as everybody else, and it seems to be working. I use my compost as the base. I send you basically a starter kit each time. So you can just pour the situation right out, add a little bit more water. It's going to have chow in the bag, and just you're off to the races. So everything's in the box at this point. I thought about, I should sell them this, do that. No, it's all included. My website pretty much says contact me and let's discuss it. I want to, like, a guy the other day wanted 5 yards of castings, and okay, I don't have that right now, but look, man, what are you doing with this stuff? I'm like, I could sell you a bucket of it right now easily, and you could turn it to a tea, and then you can get the whole property, and you didn't spend thousands of dollars. So it's really just knowledge behind what you're doing right now. It's just think about it a little bit more. The castings, less is more with the castings, I think.
Yep, I definitely agree with you on that, man. So on your website, you sell worms and you sell worm castings, correct?
Yeah, I do sell castings. Yeah.
And anything else that I missed out?
Yeah, I have some of my mother doodles on there. She does like little Zentangles and little stuff like that. Eventually, there will be a knife or two up there, but yeah, I'm just keeping it simple. I want you to, through YouTube, it's hard to contact people. So hey, hit me up at huntersworms.com, and like how we furthered our conversation is just using that as a way for people to go. And if you want to patronize me, thank you. I appreciate it. There's an avenue for that too.
Yep, that's right. I definitely
that's another thing with the website is that, and I don't suggest you doing it, but if growing food and doing this kind of stuff is that important to you, like you've gone that route, homesteading, again, it's not the best way to do it, but like through Shopify, you can even finance the worms, So if you wanted to start this business and you didn't have the cash, you could order worms through most people's websites right now and do a monthly payment, So you can almost start, if you said, hey, I want to start a business and I don't have any money, I'd probably give them to you. Which I shouldn't be saying this stuff, but it is what it is. But really, yeah, you can finance them and start a worm business,
That's the one thing about business, though. When you start to like give your products away, not saying you, but then everyone expects that's the way it's going to be. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's tough.
Not one person has got free worms from me through those videos.
I hear you.
No one's contacted me for free worms.
That's just nuts, though.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but like me, I don't sell any of my worms. Like if someone local wants a few pounds and I have enough, I'll do it that way. But I always, send them to other businesses and let them just go through that avenue. I just like to be like the co-pilot and let everyone else fly the plane. I like to help scratching my back, not my butt.
You're connecting a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's good. Like I said, and we kind of talked about like my channel, how I have like 3,600 subscribers and you have 500 subscribers. But for me, it doesn't matter. If you're a good person and we connect, I'm gonna just get your face out there. It's not about me. I like people to know about other people. Give other business the opportunity to succeed in life. Because everyone everyone wants to make money and survive. So that's that's how life works out. And so,
I don't think everything has to be what you survive on, though.
Yeah,
like worms, I could spend an hour a week, maybe let's call it 2 hours a week on worms. So that's not that much time in order to feed my property. So yes, there's a byproduct of something for sale, but even if this business didn't, like, it's in the green. Like even with the bins bought, it's a green business, right? It's you're good to go if you do it and you do it right, but it's not a big green business right now. And I don't know if I want it to be, because then you start getting into like dealing with Amazon and all these different, like trying to really push a product, and then you start losing the quality. If the guy that's shipping his worms, they might be drop shipping, but like castings, you start bagging this shit up and putting it on the shelf, it's degrading. The quality of it's going down every day. It sits on that shelf, not breathing properly and being moisturized. So again, there's different levels to this shit. And if you don't want to acknowledge that, it's fine. You'll buy your Amazon worm castings that have been bagged forever, and that's fine. You'll get what you pay for when it really comes down to it. So I guess I'll just be sitting in the back waiting for all these other things to not work, or like when somebody just came back to me and bought worms because their Jim's order was dead twice, and they just don't want to deal with Jim's anymore. Twice they sent two dead orders. I don't know how they're doing that. They're doing something weird with worms to lose tens of thousands of worms, I think.
I hear you. So
but yeah,
the floor is open. I'm gonna let you talk about.
Sorry, we're getting.
Go ahead.
All this leads into that. Like I was saying, I kind of go off on tangent. It's the homesteading, I think, is the most important aspect of all of this when it comes back to, and is trying to be as self-sufficient in this world as possible. Not because the systems aren't there, and that you can't get other like things in the outside world, but if you can control the quality and what's in it and how it's being produced, it's different. It tastes different. My eggs that my chickens produce taste different than the store-bought. I do still buy store-bought eggs for other reasons, and it's just there's a quality when you start producing stuff with the stuff that you're producing. There's like there's a momentum that starts happening, and then you're intertwined in this great biology because what's in these castings is similar to what's in your gut biome. So when you're spraying your food down with what the interaction starts to compound, and you start seeing great things happen. And the biology is so overlooked. Maybe not so much in the garden, but in the body. And that's what most people have issues with is their gut. And it's really, you're not feeding the gut the right stuff, and you don't have the right bacteria in there. And that's where most people are having unpleasant lives because their bowels aren't working. So a lot of this leads back. There's these paths that go through that the worms help connect it all, but it's just one part really to you growing food, you figuring out your water situation. You like those aspects are so overlooked on a day-to-day. Your water, it's insane to me. Like you're feeding your property with poison that's going into your well, and then you think your well is a clean water. A lot of that happened.
That's good.
But
the question, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, I'm finished. I can blab for hours.
Oh, you're good. Question was, any tips on shipping worms? I'm guessing how to prevent them from dying. If someone got 2 orders of dead worms, because something could be wrong, which you hit the nail on the head. But
I think they're drying the worms out too much. I mean, these worms breathe through water, right? I'm pretty sure that's my take on it.
Okay.
So when you dehydrate these things, even when you're about to harvest castings, I don't dehydrate them anywhere near what other people do. Like I'm like extracting every bit of casting out of it is not the point for me. I don't want to aggravate the worms. It's because I feel like it's like a buildup for them to be very consistent too. It's not like throw worms in a bin and then they're just eating everything right away. They have to start breaking stuff down. They have to start secreting. They have to start moving. And so the way I like to ship worms is pretty much as is. So I'm not letting them sit in the bedding for a while before I ship it. But essentially, I'm sending you exactly how the bedding that I use, the moisture would be. So, and some would be like, oh, during the cold, it's hard for them to regulate. I mean, I've been sending in the cold and haven't had a problem regulating. I keep looking at the wrong camera. Haven't had a problem regulating. At least with them dying because of the cold or too hot. So I'm not overwatering the compost, but I'm just basically using the compost as it's sifted out of my compost pile. And then just throwing the worms in there like I would normally, and then I'm just not adding that extra water. So it's still moist, it's still damp, but it's not completely soaked so it will freeze like if you're shipping in the winter. But I've shipped thousands of worms now, again, not millions, and haven't had any problem. So.
Oh, that was good. Good question. Yeah, Vincent said everyone has their own perspective on why they do worms. Yeah, we all have to think outside of the box because a lot of things we were told we couldn't do or feed them, and we found out that that's not true, and we can do this and that. And so Vincent's right about how we're all got to try new things. You know, you can't always go by everything that you hear.
Yeah, and I think as you do it, and it's like, I think a lot of people start off, people still the whole time are using paper products and stuff like that, which to each his own. It's whatever. Again, I told you there's levels to it, but like you start to notice that paper doesn't break down that fast. Cardboard doesn't break down that fast in these situations. It's fine. It can be used. But like my take on paper is that in this country, our recycling system in that realm is very good. And to me, just thinking about something logically, if you keep taking paper that's already been produced as a product for the world and you keep grinding it up and feeding it to worms, they're going to have to cut down more trees. So again, you're still recycling. It's still good. I'm not saying it's terrible, but the stat system works pretty good in this country. So for me, I use wood chips that are a byproduct from a business that has no use for them right now, and I break them down. So I just, instead of like the cardboard and the paper to me is like so raw, it's just too much for them to deal with. It slows the whole situation down for me in my head. And I would prefer to use a compost that's broken down because it's a lot faster. I mean, not only can I control it and it's not dyed, there's not glues possibly inside of it. We don't know. I mean, a lot of cardboard, they use glue. So I'm avoiding all that stuff. And I don't see it as a problem in most people's bins when I'm watching their bins, but it just seems like a slower way to do it than a composted material. And I just think compost is the best base for bedding. You can still add other stuff to it, but it just seems to be the best.
Well, that's awesome feedback. So with your castings, do you have a trauma or do you hand sift them with a sifter? Is that your method? How do you do your casting?
Just hand sift it. At this point, I mean, I could, if I wanted to, it would take me probably 8 hours the rest of the day, and I could, I would pull, if I was going to do, I don't know, let's say I was going to do a quarter of them, I would pull all the plastics, and then I would start letting them sit and start tracking, maybe mixing them and fluffing them a little bit more, and start the drying out process a little bit, because you have to dry them out a little bit. But all I use is a sifting. Two different sifters. All right. So these sit right inside the bins. I've cut out these grooves, and they literally sit right inside the bin. No wheels, no extra build, nothing. It just sits inside the bin so it can go back and forth very easily. If you wanted to, you could add a piece of plastic where it rubs, and that might make it even faster, but it's a good workout.
What grains do you use?
These two are 1/8 inch. I have a 1/4 inch, and then I have an 1/8 inch. My final sift is 1/8.
Okay.
1/8 inch is the final sift. That's the product that I would bag. I can show you a couple. So my shipping process is very, very simple for castings, and I've stole it from other people. I use a biodegradable bag. I'll double bag it, and these fit perfectly inside of a medium flat rate box, right? So I'll take one, open it up, and put it in a medium flat rate box that you get for free. The UPS or USPS just gives them to you they'll ship them to your house for free. So you don't need to worry about buying boxes for this business. These are very cheap. I think these are down to like 7 cents a piece instead of like what I send the worms in, which is like a tie bag. And this is similar to what most other people use. These ones are just black,
Like
and I
a
didn't have to
sandbag.
buy. What's that?
They're kind of like a sandbag.
It's actually they're anti-scratch bags is what they're considered on Uline.
Okay.
And then you can take that to Amazon, and if you don't want to buy 300 of them for $90, you can get 30 of them for $10. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
And really, I know it's more cost effective to buy the more, but if you don't want to spend 90 and you only want to spend it ends up working out. You know. So that's how I'll fill these to the brim. So you're basically getting this. This barely shuts when I put it in the medium flat rate box, and that's because the worms and all the bedding, as much as I can fit into it, are in there. But these seem to work pretty well. It's very basic, but it works. This works. A trommel could cost you thousands of dollars, and then you have this big machine you have to maintain. When you didn't even do enough of this. This is a great place to start. It really is. And then I just have like for my so this is a major feed nowadays. It wasn't the whole time. I'm adding papayas to a lot of them. They love them. It's crazy. They're you let them ripen to the point where they're pretty much rotting. You cut them up and just you can mush them. Right, is what I'm going to do on the next ones, and just give them each a little bit with the chow. They seem to love it. But yeah, all these bins are overfilled with worms to the standard of most people, and completely filled with castings. I mean, some of these bins are 40, 50 pounds. Like they're saturated, they're filled. So spring is coming, and that's when I'm really going to clean house, reset everything, and pull out a lot of this product that's been sitting here. Hundreds of pounds of castings are sitting on this wall right now, just getting better as far as I'm concerned. So they're not over compacted.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your business. So let's talk about your YouTube channel. You do a lot of live streams. If people want to connect with you, you go live daily. Is that what you do now, or how often do you go live?
I want to. I see a lot of people going live, and hundreds of people are watching them. You know, and I don't even know what I'm watching when I'm watching them. I'm like, what is going on? So I feel like I'm more interesting than some people that are getting hundreds of people to watch them drink a beer. But it's not been the case really. And I think it's because of sometimes I'm a little polarizing. I say I'll go on a tangent and say some nonsense. But that's how it works in YouTube. It really does. If you say the wrong things in the beginning of the video, I think it will penalize you. And I always say the wrong things to that group of people, unfortunately. But yeah, the YouTube channel is going to be mostly lives. I just don't have the brain power right now to learn the editing. Or do I want to spend the time moving files around and shit? I like to freestyle. You put me in front of a camera. You asked me before we started, are you a little nervous? Yeah, I'm a little nervous, obviously. But once I get going, it's game on. Like, we could talk about anything, you know? So,
that's awesome.
Live streams. That's the future. Anybody can edit a video and make it to whatever they want. I want you to see me make those mistakes or catch me saying, hey, that's not true. And then we can fix it right then and there or not. You know?
That's how it was with you. I got you on a live stream because with my job, it's like hit and miss right now with the cold weather. And I was glad that I was able to, come to your stream, get to know you a little bit better and, have this chit chat, so I want to say definitely thank you for taking time out to do this. And I can start about the numbers. I know you got like, I want to be with a person who has 1 million subscribers, it's like, no, I like the small community because we can just interact, relate with each other instead of, I don't have time to read all the comments because I'm so big, or I have editors that read my comments. And, I don't want that lifestyle. I still want to connect and engage with the community. And I feel the same way as that's how you like to interact with your community as well.
I'm always going to be the face of my companies. Like, you're going to see, like, if I pass off something, to somebody at this point in my life, 36 years old, it's going to be to somebody that like loves it more than I do and is going to be part of the business. There's no more employees in my head right now. I think that's part of our issue in this country, this world, is that everybody wants somebody else to do something for them. And I'm not like that anymore. I used to be like capitalism needs to exist, but I've veered away from always trying to push something off on somebody and pay them as little as possible. I think that's the worst way to be. It doesn't breed any goodness in the world. We're always talking about minimums, minimum wage, minimum square footage for your chickens. It's like I said the other day, if you talk to me about minimum, if minimum is on your mind, stay away from me, please. Because I don't, that's not how I do things at all whatsoever. So, but yeah, I appreciate you bringing me on. It means a lot that you took attention to me, and I appreciate it very much so.
So is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I mean, we could go in any direction, and some of those directions get me in trouble. So we can avoid going in them, you know? So.
Yeah, I understand. But no, definitely people, check out Hunter's channel. You know, he's a great guy. You know, it's great that we were able to build this relationship, and we'll keep it going, you know, and yeah, check out his website. If you're interested in some worms, look them up and try them out and give him feedback. You know, if you didn't like how they were shipped, just let him know, because he's the type of person that like he'll make it right and work the problem
100%.
out,
so. I mean, that's a no-brainer. If you have a problem with my product, you hit me up and we'll fix it for sure.
Exactly.
And that's with anything. All my knives have a lifetime warranty. If I do work on your property, it's warranted to, like, you pretty much get me indefinitely. I back everything up that I try to. I'm not the best at doing anything, but I really try to back it up. And at least when I was doing it, I really cared about it. You know, I'm not going to claim to be the best at anything though.
Got that right.
So
I want to ask if you're a one-man show or employee, but you're one man because, like you said, you like to.
Yeah, my wife is my business partner on this, and she sells a lot of plants for us, which we have a little nursery kind of thing that we do during the summer, spring, and fall. But my wife is like, our goal is to just work together and have small businesses from our property. Hopefully people coming to patronize us. And then we can just exist in our little bubble, you know, and not hurt anyone and just do our thing.
Yep. I noticed, like, what made people send me like emails, you know, they want to edit my videos and do my thumbnails, you know. I'm like, for me, I'm not like nothing special. It's just worms, you know. I'm not like a business where, like, you know, I got to have this great thumbnail to catch your eye to click on my video or to buy my product. You know what I mean? We're just gardening, you know. So I don't feel, for me, I don't need someone to do that for me. That's just me, you know.
Yeah.
Because if you like my videos or your videos, you're gonna come on video or your video and look at your links and go to your business and buy it through your websites, you know.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
Excuse me for 1 second. I'll be right back. All right.
Yep. All of the information in the world is on the YouTube nowadays, right? Like, you can pretty much learn anything. What I find is, so all the information's there. The problem with the information is that it needs to be deciphered, and you need to decide as a logical person whether it's good information or not, right? You can literally start up a channel and start talking about anything, and it could mean nothing. It could be nonsense, and people will go off in that direction with you. So the information's there. You can pretty much learn anything. I'm learning how to do CAD right now for my knives. But you can sit there for 2 hours watching a guy the way he does it, instead of watching this guy that does it in a way that is actually a better way to do it. So just be careful with the information that you get, because it can be very, very skewed, or just anecdotal for that person. And then you're just doing what works for somebody else, not so much for yourself. I always say, this is the way I do it, and it works for me. You do it the way it works for you. If you need advice, then let's talk. Teach me something. You know, I have no problem. I'm not an old dog. I want to learn. So if somebody came to me for I want to edit your videos and do your things, it's like, okay, I would be like, okay, I'm going to go learn it myself. Like if I'm at this point in my life, I want to go do it myself. So I'm going to go take the time to learn it. And that's just where I'm at. But just watch the information that you're looking at, because it's not all right. It could be a whole facade that makes no sense. That's just clickbaiting and just trying to get you to do what they want. So, but yeah, got 8 people in here. What's everyone else? Anybody have any other questions? Anything like that? Or trommel. Yeah, I would. So with the trommel, not affording a trommel, again, there's a video on YouTube that could show you how to make a vibrating setup for little to nothing. So you don't need a trommel per se. Yeah, it's probably ideal for. It's pretty rough on worms, I would say, but there are ways to make your own situations with a Sawzall that work just fine if you do it right. You want to make a good one. And I personally wouldn't use a Sawzall. I would use a vibrating motor. It's a special motor you can get on Amazon. And you can make yourself a vibrating on an angle that's 8 feet long or whatever, and have a couple different screens and make your own for a couple $100, right? So there's ways around having to spend tons of money too, even if you want to grow. Yes, Vincent, that's correct. There's a lot of BS out there.
Is there anything you'd like to ask me, Hunter?
So you said you had. I was watching something. You were talking with some lady the other day. You're running 5 bins right now.
Yeah, I had 8, and then I downsized to 5. Just totes
Consolidated
in the basement. Huh?
Yeah. Did you consolidate and sift them out, or what'd you do?
Yeah, I sifted, and what my bins, like I have European night crawlers and different, like mixed bins and stuff, and I'll sift the bin, and then I'll let the castings dry a little bit, then I'll sift again, and then if I have any other worms left over, they'll go into my mixed worm bin. So that's how I decide which one gets the mixed worm bin. And what I need to do, I need to just start another bin where I can just, now I'm getting into the process where I'm starting to use cereal boxes and stuff. I never really liked to do that because I was hesitant, but I have one bin that I'm only focusing on putting the the shredded cereal boxes, but I don't use white bleach paper anymore. I don't like that stuff. It gets sticky, it mats down. I just don't like that. So I'll put that in my outside composting bin.
It works.
But, yeah, and I had a worm. Yeah, and I had a worm bucket. I stopped using it, but I have a workshop coming up next in about a week or 2. So I got that one started up again, so I can just take that one with me. It's small. It's like a 2.5 gallon bin, and that way I can just carry that easily and show them the castings and stuff. So I
saw that guy's video with you.
He's a great guy.
About that.
Rob. Yeah, Rob, he's a great guy with his business, the worm bucket. But yeah, I hate to not use something when I know it works.
To each his own. Again, it's like what I like to eat isn't the same as what you like to eat, and that's just how So there's a ton of different recipes that I would never eat that you would make, and it's the same with the worms. It's like your worms will condition to deal with that, and that's all there is to it. Like that's. Or you might be like, okay, maybe this is taking way too long, and switch it up. Sometimes you got to learn the hard way, and that I've done that many times with the worms. It hasn't been a disaster, but I'm like, I shouldn't do that. That's definitely not a good idea.
Give me a second.
But they do eat paper. They eat cardboard. It's fine. And maybe they're metabolizing it and they're filtering all the bullshit out. I mean, that's a real thing to think about. They could easily be doing something like that. Besides doing our individual channels and videos, what do you guys see? I think it's local, Vincent. It's like getting at the people that you care about the most and getting them to understand that it has nothing to do with the worms. It has to do with them getting the biology onto their property. So if you love your friends and family and they're growing food with Miracle Grow, although it works just fine and it will give you that first year of great growth, and is like getting them, they don't even need to understand it. It's like putting the stuff out there and start building back the environment. It really does help. And that should be the main goal, not just profitability of the business. It should be, how can I spread this on top of making a profit? Yeah, the more people on board. But again, it's like it's still like a snake oil kind of deal. It's like, here, buy my worm shit. And some people look at me like I have 5 heads. And then I can explain it to, that's a big aspect of starting this business, is being able to explain past the basics so that you can capture someone's mind and really explain to them something that you understand. So understanding it is definitely important. Nana's Worms and Garden. Thanks for the session, AJ. See you later. What else we got? Interesting. Oh, let's see. I have a compost roller that I think I'll try to use as a mechanical trommel. Yeah. To make a trommel is not that difficult. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could probably use a bicycle wheels on either side, connect them with a couple different size cloths, and then you're off to the races. There's a lot of things that you could do with your spare time that most people are scrolling on TikTok and Facebook and stuff like that, when you could be out making that $5,000 trommel out of the bicycle you don't use. Yeah, Vincent, I think where you're at is like, you doing what you're going to do with them. And I'd like to see your population grow even more quickly, because you have the farm to test it on and to prove to the world that, like, it does work, it is viable, and farmers should start dealing in it. It doesn't, if the biology is one of the most important things, and then they need to add this to do that, it can be done in the tea. So figuring out a way as a farmer to maybe get some other farmers on board that will test large quantities of tea on certain parcels of their farm to see what it does. I mean, proof is in the pudding. If they can see a difference, they're going to want your product. And I think that's a great aspect of this business that no one looks at right now, is that you see these true green companies driving around spraying poisons all over people's properties. What about offering them an organic alternative, a way that maybe you have to do it a little differently? It has to be fresh batch shit, but maybe there's a concentrate that would last a little longer. But essentially doing a business like that, but just spraying out green. You're not poisoning their water systems and killing their animals. You're feeding the whole entire picture. And I wish somebody would show up and say, hey, I need castings for that business. And man, you'd be in my, like, I would make sure it worked for sure. It wouldn't be the cost of castings that didn't allow that business to succeed. I'll tell you that. It would be the bureaucratic bullshit that they make you jump through and get a pesticide license when it's not even a pesticide or a herbicide or fertilizer.
Yeah, sorry about that. My phone's connected. My headphones connected like my phone and my computer, so it kind of like dropped me. But question: what are your thoughts on?
We heard the whole conversation with your foot doctor and the corn that you have getting cut off next week. Just feed it to the worms, man.
So, what are your thoughts on a CFT system?
On that front, I kind of follow Captain Matt. I think he really understands this shit, and he's really doing it. And he's cutting the legs off of his and turning them into wedges.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think the CFT in theory works. It's a little bit more than the wedge is I think is superior to it. You can use the same container, and instead of having to figure out a system and the build of all this underneath being able to pull, and you got worms falling at the bottom, and one day it dries out too much and it all falls out or something, the wedge is, I think, a really good way to do it. Or his reverse super sack kind of deal. That's a cool way to do it too. But I don't think much about CFTs at all. I don't think it's the best way to do it. It works, and it works for a lot of people. They probably have beautiful CFTs that they've engineered and spent time and money to build, and that's great.
That's good.
I
Besides
probably
doing
wouldn't
our
go.
I'm sorry. Besides doing our individual channels and videos, what do you guys see us as a community doing to show more people the community advantages or disadvantages? Vincent asked that question.
What's your take? I've already, when you were gone, I answered that. How would you say?
Like I'm trying to like make sure I read it right. So he's asking, what are my thoughts on how we can like get this out more to others, or how is it worded? Like break it down to me, explain it to me as I'm reading.
Well,
this.
I mean, my take on what he's asking is like, how can we? Let me go back. Besides doing our individual channels, videos, what do you guys see as a community doing to show more people the community? And I kind of went straight to being local with it and connecting with the people that you actually can touch and talk to. And YouTube is a way, an outlet for us to try to connect, but it's not local. And really just hit it hard and start, even if it starts with friends and family, giving them it for free. Imagine just turning it to tea and spraying their whole property down, and then being like, holy shit, my property's different this year. And then that's the tumble effect, is the cookie cutter house that looks different than all the guys on the street that's spraying a petrol-based chemical. And then it's like, oh wait, we don't need to use chemicals. And then the whole neighborhood's doing it. And then you have what I just said is a business in spraying tea. Like how good of a business could a pickup truck with a nice pump, and you could have and a 275-gallon tote, you could have a business out of a pickup truck spreading biology around the planet. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, my thing is, like you said, go local. And like with these workshops I do, this is my second one that I'm doing with the YMCA. And there might not be a lot of people there, but just educating people on the benefits of worms, like say, for example, how they can eat paper and stuff. And people are like, what? They can eat paper? Or, and I tell them how, their garbage can be reduced because you'll have less waste going to your garbage can. And they're like, oh, that's pretty cool too. I never knew that. And now what I'm going to talk about on my next stream is the benefit of worm castings and how they can, or not worm, worm castings and worm too, and how they can benefit your plants. And I'm going to tell them, if you don't believe me, try it for yourself. Try a plant with Miracle Grow, and then try one with, a mixture of Miracle Grow and worm castings, or try it with, your own organic fertilizer. So, just because, like you said, I tell you something, you got to actually test it, not by everything that I say, but what I say and you say, it's legit. It's no fluff, it's no BS. It's real stuff that we have experienced. So yeah, just connect with for me, like go out and touch base with your community. If you can go to a school and share with kids, that's a great place
I just
to
did
start
that.
too.
I did that not too long ago.
Okay.
And that seemed to be pretty good. I think, I mean, it's cool just to like get kids hands on with worms and stuff, but really it's the adults. Like I get it. I want to teach kids young and stuff, but we're at the point on this planet that if we continue to play games, we're going to really fuck it up. And you can call it whatever you want. I call it pollution and just utter disrespect of like the beauty that this planet holds. And I think it's good. Teach the kids. That's fine. The next generation, but we need to teach the fucking adults right now that literally are doing the opposite of what we should be doing. And we have a lot of we have people flying over us in jets telling us that we should be more clean, and that we shouldn't drive our cars and do this or that. So there's a lot of miscommunication and just utter lies. But really, when it comes down to it, as humans, we're not acting very appropriate with the planet, to the point where some of us are talking about leaving the planet and going to Mars. And it's not just because he wants to, it's because he probably sees something that might not be as reversible or easily as reversible as we hope. Because I can let 1,000 worms go on my property and hopefully it adds to changes something, but if you're pouring toxic waste into the ocean, there's no competing with it on this smaller scale. So we need to start really fixing some of the bigger problems. But if you can control what you're putting in your body, you're going to be more astute. You're going to be smarter, faster, stronger. Because a lot of what they're giving us now, and I say them, the people that own the corporations that feed us and clothe us and stuff, they're poisoning us. And it's so evident with how many people have cancer and all these, and even if it's not intentional, the products that are being brought to us aren't being tested properly. They're not okay for us, and we're just existing in it. So diluting it and keeping yourself as clean is really important. It's like, if you're 100% eating McDonald's, you're going to see something go. Something's going to happen. You know, your body's going to really let you know that there's no nutrients. It's not to mention just they're probably adding straight poison into it. But if you can dilute and control some aspects, like one being the water, filter your water, go in depth on figuring that out. But with the food, if you can grow at least some of it and start drawing down that percent, or raising the percentage of better quality stuff, higher nutritional, that you'll be stronger and more understanding of what should happen, what needs to happen to fix a lot of the problems the planet has. I mean, it's not so much what can we make to fix the planet, it's what can we live without in order to not pollute this planet. People need to have that understanding, is that it's not more of what you need, it's we need to do less. We need to avatar the shit a little bit instead of trying to mine all the fucking everything possible out of the planet. It's not going to work in long term.
I agree, man. Yeah, like you said, it starts with us. If you can take care of yourself, make your own fruit and vegetables, and not depend on how everyone else is depending on everyone else to supply your needs, you know, definitely go that route. And it all starts with like whipworms, because that's and that's the thing. Yeah, get your community, you know, get your little garden started, you know, barter some food, some fruits, and and it'll be a continuous cycle of life. Because I got a friend, he has chickens, so if I need eggs, you know, I can get eggs from him, and I can get, you know, mealworms for his chickens, or I can go out and, you know what I mean? It's just, so it's a continuous lifestyle with this gardening community, and we definitely need each other when it comes to growing fruits and vegetables. You know, you got seeds I don't have, I can give you seeds, and it's just amazing how we can all connect with each other through this lifestyle. Because some niches, people don't like to share stuff, they like to keep it all personal. You know, other things tell you how to, you know, be successful on YouTube, but no one has that crap figured out. You know what I mean? So, it's tricky. We'll never have that YouTube algorithm figured out.
Some people have it figured out, but they're not, the ones that have it really figured out probably won't tell you exactly how they do it. You know, there's a lot of that. And I see that as a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I'll watch a few of those videos. There's a few people that I really like to watch their content, but I'm more focused on now is the gardening. You know, I'll watch a few prepping. You know, I'll watch a few, you know, other type of videos like that, homesteading, because I like to just start to fill people out. Because I want to provide for myself. You know, it's cheaper to grow your own tomatoes and buy one for $2 at a certain store. Yeah, it's like expensive for that crap, and the pesticides and all that stuff. Go ahead.
That's real. The price of things could be the deciding factor. It's not. A lot of people think that it might not exist, and that's a deciding factor, which could be a very good point. But really, the cost of it eventually could be the deciding factor for a lot of even middle class, or what they call middle class. It's really lower class on the pay scale. Like imagine if even a single family home house had most of their, it used to be a requirement, like during war times, that you had to provide yourself with a certain garden. And I don't know that like all the details on that, but that's like, we just stepped away from doing these basic things. It's not, you don't have to overthink the garden. You're right. You can use Miracle Grow and you will have a great yield, and it's still going to be better than if you bought it and there was a spray put on it after the fact to keep it around longer. So there's a little bit of a dilution right there. Is that soil going to be perfect for next year? No, but you still have some base, some volume to then add good compost and castings to. So there's a positive to it. I'm dealing with this right now. Our neighbor, I live in Florida, so they spray for flies, and there's no way to get off this fly list. And they just fly over everything and spray it. And we have neighbors begging for it. And one lady said, in we have a Facebook page for the neighborhood, and everybody's saying, oh, I would just do this. I would buy a fogger and we should just do it ourselves. And I'm like, dude, you guys are mentally ill. Stay away from me with that. But one lady was like, I just don't understand how the original settlers and stuff dealt with this. I'm like, they just dealt with it. They didn't try to kill everything every time they weren't completely comfortable. And that's where we're stuck at. Everybody wants to be temperature controlled and just kept perfect and nothing. It's just mind boggling. Like, I don't like getting bit by flies, but that's why right now you can go inside. Instead, most people want to spray everything with they don't even know what the fucking, excuse my language, they don't even know what it is, and they'll just spray it all down with it. So that's where we're at. There's a large group of people that are just fine with doing the normal to whoever's like, and the normal meaning like the government is involved. Like that's the norm right now, is listen to the government and they'll tell you exactly what's the better way to do it. It's becoming not the case.
I definitely hear you, man. No, that's good stuff, man. Shoot, I definitely appreciate this, this live stream, because that's what I like to do these. I like to learn from other people, because I don't know the answers to everything, and stuff I don't know, so we can learn from each other. And when people leave comments in the chat, if we don't know the answer, we'll let you know, but we'll try to get back to you. And if we don't know, we can direct you to someone else's YouTube channel. But like Hunter and I both said, just because we say something, find out for yourself, because what works for me and him might not work for you, because that's how I learned how to do my worm bins. I pick and choose, and this is what works for me. And other people use horse manure for food scraps, or rabbit poop. Everyone use what you got and find out what works best for you. Any other thoughts?
No, I'm pretty good. Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yeah. No, so shout out your channel. Let people once again know how to connect you, man, if they have any questions.
At Hunter's Worms on YouTube, and huntersworms.com. If you want to message me through that, there's a little message thing in the bottom right corner, or huntersworms@gmail.com. And that's that. I've just made that because my other email has 5 million emails unread, and it's annoying to deal with. So I just made a new email. None of it matters. I have a bunch of different things that I do that I could. It's just the worms was just the easiest way to put together, easiest business to put together, to start advertising myself. But yeah, hit me up if you need any advice, or you want to teach me something. I would love to be hit up and somebody being like, "Hey, do this." I'm waiting for those conversations.
So your Eastern time. When you go live, what time do you usually go live? So if someone wants to hop on.
I've seen a mix. I've done it a few different times throughout the day. There's not going to really be a set time. I don't want to. Okay. Again, I'm doing a bunch of different things. My schedule changes, and honestly, some days I don't even want to talk about anything. So I might not do it.
That's right. Yeah. If you don't feel it, don't do it. Because people can actually see that you're not interested.
That would probably help, though, is setting a schedule for the live stream so that people know. And you probably have the time down right. Around noon, people are having lunch. It's probably a good time to do something like this.
But for me too, we talked about what I do, my job. It's like right now it's kind of like a slow season, but once I get busy, my live streams kind of stop for a while, because I'm putting in long hour days, and so winter it's good for me to do a lot of lives, but spring, summer, fall, I'm busy. I'm putting miles on that truck.
It's good. And
man, I want to. go ahead. You finished, and I'll say what I'll say
No,
to you.
it's just, I think even if it has nothing to do with worms, it's just like, just do good shit, be nice to people. And it doesn't have to be worms. It could be start a compost pile. Those food scraps that you're saving, they can just start a little pile somewhere in your forest next to your house. You don't have the property, go to the park where the leaves are and mix your scraps in weekly. You can do so many, like fitness is free. There's so many things that you can work around and exist so happily in this world without a ton of money. And worms is one of them. You can, along with a bunch of other really good things, they cost nothing. Zero. Just think about it and just try to do good shit, because there's a lot of people doing really bad shit. So hopefully we'll be able to make up for some of it. But I'm going to get off. I appreciate you, AJ.
Yeah.
Hopefully maybe we can do it in the next couple months again.
Yep. Sounds good. I want to say thank you, Hunter, for taking the time out. Like I says, just because my numbers are bigger than your numbers, to me, it don't matter. We're all family. So let's just get our
yours is bigger than mine. Thanks, AJ. Thanks to end it all off. I appreciate it. Just had to rub it in one more time.
I want to thank the viewers and everyone for watching this live stream. If you haven't already, check out Hunter's channel. He just reached 500 subscribers, so congratulations on that. Looking forward to you reaching 100,000. You know, and
that'd be awesome.
That. So
I appreciate it.
I wish you guys nothing but blessings. So thank you, everyone, for your time, and everyone, you have a great day.
Appreciate you. Take it easy. Later.
Later.